this is Agent Brown from the Federal Podcast Investigations, FBI. Just want to remind you, we're watching. And are those new glasses? They look good on you.
Hello, and welcome to The Social Distance, a podcast where we just hang out during this time of quarantine. I mean, you don't even have to knock. Just come right in, take a seat on the couch. I'm actually making chicken noodle soup. It's April 10th, 2020, and I am your host, Israel Rodriguez. Hey, awesome listeners, Izz here. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you guys are doing well, despite the odd circumstances. If not, I got good vibes for the both of us, and of course, I will share. Now, this is the, quote, third episode, and if you made it past the first two to get here, thank you. I'm so grateful. And if you actually skipped the first two, why? Why did you do that? What did I do wrong? Nah, I'm just kidding. In fact, there are no rules for listening. Just like creating, there are no rules for creating. There actually is no rules for anything, but that is a debatable subject. But I'll tell you what's not debatable. You're gonna have an awesome time here. So, in the last episode, I quickly went over the current game plan for this podcast. On Thursdays, it's just going to be you and I. We're going to talk about everything, from our pasts to our futures, from books to foods, to even your favorite Rocco's Modern Life episode. Mine is the one where Rocco gets a credit card and buys a new dog bowl for Spunky. I'm telling you, we're going to be talking about everything. But on Fridays, like today, we're going to be chatting with all sorts of guests, learning not only about how they're dealing with this social distancing, but also learning about what they do and hearing some cool stories. And today, guys, I got quite the guest full of cool stories. My guest today is an actress, a model, a multilingualist, and among many other things, she is just a fun person to be around. Her name is Kristen Stephenson-Pino, and she is also the sister of my significant other, and they are currently quarantined together. I recently made a quick trip over to their house to make sure everyone was safe and had everything they needed, and I decided to bring a microphone to get a quick interview. We kept it safe, we kept it sanitary, and we kept it cool. No, really though, talking to Kristen was a joy. She's been in countless commercials, both here and in Japan, and has starred in some movies, including Best Friends and Best Friends 2, which is directed by Tommy Wiseau. He's a director of The Room. That's a cult classic. That's a big deal. In this interview, Kristen gives us a glimpse into the kind of work that she does and how that has been affected. As a small-town native living in a town too big for his own good, attending a community college at the top of some hills, Kristen's world is a world that I'm not familiar with, and I found it very fascinating. I think you guys will too. Kristen actually took this interview as an opportunity to connect with some of her fans via live feed on Instagram. Now, as someone who just got Wi-Fi about a month ago for the first time in 2 years, doing a live feed on Instagram for several hundred strangers was quite the exhilarating experience for me, though it definitely seemed like business as usual for her. Witnessing the dichotomy of our two lives, that was just an absolute delight. So here we go, enjoy the interview, and we will rendezvous back here after it's done.
Are you ready? Okay, hold on. Let me get my live feed going. Yeah, I'm just going to do the intro to the live feed and then that's it. Perfect. Okay. Give it a second for people to chime in. Okay, and now I am live. So, I thought I'd just go live real quick for you all. I'm about to get this hour-long interview, and maybe it will answer some of the questions that you have already been asking me in my Q&As. So, anyways, just want to give you the lowdown on what's going on. Interviewing with Israel.
Hey, guys.
Okay.
Alrighty, cool. So, hi, you guys. Welcome to The Social Distance. This is just a podcast to show everybody, get a glimpse of what we're all doing during this uncertain time of COVID-19. So with me today, I have a guest, a really awesome guest, Kristen Stephenson-Pino. She's done so many things, man, that I can't even imagine. Stories filled to the brim. It's amazing. So I just wanted to share what she has to say. So anyways, Kristen.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us. I really appreciate it, Kristen.
Yeah, thanks for thinking of me.
Alrighty, so I just wanted to start off, to tell my listeners and your viewers, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for work, what you do. Just tell us a little bit about yourself,
So
please.
first off, I grew up overseas, Europe and Asia. German was my first language, Japanese is my second, and then English is my third. So I've had a very diverse life, I guess per se. And I started acting and modeling back in Japan, which was really cool. But from there, I moved to Hawaii, and that's where I graduated high school. And I continued my acting and modeling and all that good stuff. And then from there, I basically did everything you could possibly do on the island and started commuting back and forth from Los Angeles. So I got to the point where they're like, hey, if you really want to do this, you need to make the move. So I jumped off the rock and held my breath, went for it, and now here I am. Now I act. I'm an actress, model, and I also have my own bikini line, which is pretty cool.
Dude, that's awesome. So you said you were doing this since you were
real young, very young. Yes, around 3, 4. So
that's crazy. I was watching TV while you were on TV. That's super cool. So, tell me a little bit about that. What was it like to get into that kind of business at a young age? What do you remember about it?
I just remember getting picked up off the street with my sisters. All of us did it. So we all did it for a while. And I think out of everybody, I was definitely more into it than my sisters were. And I've done voiceover work. I've been in films, I've been TV shows, I've been in a lot of different magazines. I've been on a massive billboard over in Japan on the Tower Records with my little sister Kelly.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah, so it was cool. It was even a commercial, and I was even on the World Cup commercial. I don't even remember what year it was.
A World Cup commercial? Mm-hmm. Were you hanging out with Shakira, or what was going on?
I wish. Dude, I was actually singing. I still remember the song, too. And I don't sing. I have a horrible voice. But I think in Japan, I got picked up for a lot of voiceovers because I had such a strange voice. I sounded like a frog. I was like, hello, welcome to the... And they're like, wow, that's great. And I'm like, yeah, food for the bank. I sound like even my grandfather, he's like, she has such a funny voice, and even now he's like, I'm so glad your voice changed.
Oh man.
But yeah,
that's cool. Well, so it seems like you keep yourself very busy most of the time. I do want to ask just really quick, so how, with everything that you got going on, how has this kind of social distancing, stay inside procedure, how has that kind of affected stuff? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to go
not
too
at all.
detail,
I feel like this is a question a lot of people want to know.
Yeah, because it affects everyone differently. I personally work at a cafe, and it's closed down right now. So, that's how that goes. But someone who does, everything that you're doing, I want to know how it affects that,
Well, here's the thing. It's interesting because I think you start to realize how, people who are in the entertainment business aren't necessarily... What's the word I'm looking for? They're not a necessity.
Oh.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? But when you also think about it in this sense, it's, in a way, they also are because they're the ones that are keeping your mind off things.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I had several different projects lined up, and they got postponed till July. So that's kind of rough. Oh, and man. I make my money... through social media. I also make it through the bikinis. I make it through, filming and whatnot.
And all that stuff is
and all that stuff's on postponed. And you don't want to sit there and sell stuff to people, especially when they're struggling at this time. And I think for me personally, right now, I'm doing a live feed for everybody because, I think people who are on the entertainment business and when they are making their money off their feeds, you're constantly looking for content and not boring content. You want content that's going to either inspire somebody, make them feel some type of way, but also still keep them engaged with you.
Yeah, especially at a time like right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for me, sometimes it's rough because I'm an outdoor kind of person. I'm not like really, I don't like staying indoors. But I've been keeping busy, and I've been working out every day, every morning at noon, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. You got to get your air.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't really go far. I help with my grandparents, which is why I also came down to San Diego to stay with my mom to help her out with that. And I'm TV'd out, guys. I'm so TV'd out.
Yeah, I could, dude. Yeah,
you watch TV.
I just
you sleep.
Yeah, I just got internet a couple of weeks ago, and I already feel so tired of Netflix. I feel like I've seen everything already. But that's crazy. I could only imagine too all the traveling that you've had to do, and that
yeah, and that stopped. Has stopped.
That's been done, man. So yeah, it feels like you really just got hit in a way that's like,
yeah, and I'm used to traveling with product and like shooting, and that's all mellowed out drastically. And nowadays it's interesting too, because now you have like all these other people who I feel like everybody's an entertainer, everybody's a model, everybody's everybody's TikTok crazy.
Yeah.
And that's fine, like nothing against that. It's just it makes the industry very different. And I noticed so I started getting auditions, and there's starting to be auditions for like commercials and stuff like that filmed from home.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's a game changer. That's not something that they've ever done. And so
crazy. Yeah,
so for me, I was like, what? Wait, okay, so if I get this job, now I'm the one who's going to film it from my end, send it to you, and now you're going to post that content. That's
crazy. Yeah, there's even news stations that people are telling the news from home. It's been a weird adjustment. Well, that's crazy. Is that something that you're probably gonna have to be looking into?
100%. I'm already kind of doing it now. So, I personally love interacting with people, and I also love, I love that engagement. So, I like being in a room with a bunch of people who are creative, and I love working with people versus, okay, me, myself, and I, because I don't believe that anybody can progress or even move to the next level by themselves. I think it's all about that team.
Yeah. Collaboration when it comes to creativity is just essential. So,
and nobody makes it on the top by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is kind of interesting. Everything is going more, technology obviously is taking over, and it's more, okay, do it yourself at home.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
But
I know you. You seem very vibrant despite everything that's been going on, and I know you kind of already touched on it. You said you've been working out and watching TV, but what else have you been doing? During this little breather moment between your busy schedule.
Yeah, I think I had some people on my Q&As ask me this actually online, and I like to make things, so I sew and I build, and so I've been kind of doing that. But there's times where I'm like laying in my bed and I'm just like looking at the ceilings, and I'm like, dude, I already know how many tiles are on my wall.
Dang.
This is rough. And
that is rough, yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of, I think for me, you gotta, like, once you start feeling like gloomy and down, I feel like you gotta shake it off and be like, oh, okay.
Dude,
let me lighten the mood.
That's a positive way to look at it. That's awesome.
Trying to stay positive.
Dude, yeah, that's the kind of people that we all need to kind of like listen to, is just people who are not so, I'm miserable, I'm staying at home. You seem to have the opposite of that attitude.
I just feel like a lot of people, like, you watch the news, everything's so negative all the time. It's like, okay, we already know this. We already know there's a lot of negativity going on in the world right now. And a lot of us are scared, which is understandable. A lot of us aren't making money. We're not, you know what I mean? And so these are questionable times. So I think it is nice when you have people and they're sharing that positivity, and they're showing, hey, it's okay to smile. It's okay to, like, all right, let me try. I think that's my goal, is to try to, through my feed, kind of take people away from that moment of sorrow and, like, being scared, and give them that one moment to,
I
like,
turn
laugh
on the radio and you'll hear people just say, oh, this many people dying, this people.
Yeah, like, you don't want to hear that every day. Like,
you don't.
It's like, okay, we already know, this is something we already know. We don't have to keep hearing it over and over again, because I feel like that is what kills your soul.
No, absolutely, man. That's cool. Any new hobbies you've been getting into?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of trying, or?
I actually started
Uh-oh.
So I actually busted out a violin.
What?
And I started practicing the violin.
Dude.
I'm not very good, but I figured out how to do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star by myself.
Oh my gosh.
And then I started like looking it up, and I'm like, all right, let's.
No,
And I'm like, whoops. It's okay. Maybe by the end of this, I'll be like pro at it.
No, this is exactly the time to be doing that kind of stuff. That's so cool, man. We gotta start a band now. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? I know. There's a part of me that's like, I want people to I don't even care. Maybe I'll start doing this. I was debating on like hitting up just random people, send me videos to react to, you know what I mean? And like maybe combine it to make something interesting. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I mean, at this point, this is a weird time, so it seems like there's no boundaries. Like, just do anything you've had. And I think taking up the violin, and then when this is all done, you're gonna know how to play violin. Like, how cool is that?
I'll be able to add that to my resume. I'm like, check.
There you go. That's
they'll be
cool.
like, how'd you learn that?
And then you'll be in the next World Cup just playing violin. It'll be perfect. You had mentioned you grew up in Japan. I actually wanted to talk about that because I think that's very interesting, and I'm sure that was like a bit of a culture shock when you moved. Can I ask, like, what age did you move, and how did that?
I was like 3 when we were in Japan, and honestly, like I didn't see it as a culture shock because that was like I grew up in that. Coming to America was the culture shock.
Oh, because you were like, old enough already.
Yeah, I was already like, high school and whatnot, and I come to America for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, everything's so big. Whoa, look at these meals. The meals are big, the roads are big. And then you sit there and you're like watching the lights turn green, and you're like, wow, that's so different. Like, we don't do that. My older sister, funny story, my older sister, Casey, I remember when we first came, we saw 7-Eleven. Now, there's 7-Elevens in Japan and the U.S. are completely different. What? People think, oh, 7-Eleven, you're like, okay.
If it has hot Cheetos, yeah.
Gross.
Okay.
You go to Japan, you're like, oh, 7-Eleven, delicacy food.
What?
This is where it's at.
What do you mean? I mean, like, was it?
Oh my God, their 7-Elevens are clean. They have the best snacks and great food. You can't go wrong with a 7-Eleven. Like, you could sit there and get your dinner at 7-Eleven, and it is bomb.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that 7-Eleven was a 5-star restaurant up there in Japan. That's really cool.
Good. It's so good.
That's cool.
Well, we rave about 7-Eleven, and I remember like my sister, she was like, "Oh my God, they have a 7-Eleven here," and my mom's like, "Casey, 7-Eleven's from the U.S."
Oh man,
that's a U.S. brand. Like, and we were just like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that."
That's crazy. I mean, I would have never thought, oh, hey, our 7-Elevens might not be the same. That's cool. That's very interesting.
They're very different.
So, I mean, you moved to Japan when you were that young. Mm-hmm. So you pretty much, I went to elementary school.
We were like, my sisters and I were the only American kids in an all Japanese school because when we moved there, I was to live with my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And so my mom wasn't like, she wasn't part of the military. She didn't have orders to go there or anything. So we couldn't be a part of the American school system. So she had to go to the Japanese City Hall, beg them to allow us to go to their schools, and they took us in. And so we grew up reading, writing, speaking Japanese for the longest time, and we were the only Americans, and it didn't even faze me. I never even thought about it. I do remember questioning, like, why do we look so different? But at the same time, it was kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you're young. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not
the only thing,
I
think the only name calling I ever got called was Pinocchio. Because they were like, oh, your nose is so tall, like it's so high. Pinocchio. And I remember that was the only thing I was like, yeah, why is my nose so tall? And I remember grabbing tape, and because their noses are smaller, so I just tape it down, trying to get my nose down.
That's an interesting,
And then I found out they loved the tall nose. It was actually not a bad thing, but I was like, yeah, weird.
Oh yeah,
I don't know, but it didn't like really faze me. And then when I went to the American school for the first time, it was so hard, because like I didn't comprehend the language as much as I thought I did. And I couldn't read or write English, so.
Oh, man. And then
that was rough.
So you said you came here in high school to America, and you said it was rough. Was it rough because just, I
think the language barrier was rough.
The language barrier?
I think it was, like, the hardest language to learn. And I think out of everybody, I was out of my sisters and stuff, they did very well because they learned at a young age their vowels and stuff, and I kind of missed that window. So for me, it was extremely difficult. And I was also stronger in Japanese. So when I transferred over, and they're sitting there, and it's like my first day of class, and my sister had this teacher. So right off the bat, I'm like, oh my God, you're Casey's sister. Can you read? Can you read the first paragraph? And I'm like, oh God.
Oh, man.
Like my first day, you're putting me on the spot.
Dang, that's...
And I just remember looking at the letters, and they just, if you look at like a different language, right? And you look at their letters, to you it just looks like scribbles or lines.
Is
right?
that how it was when you were...
Oh, I was like, I didn't even know, I didn't know my alphabet. I didn't know how to read, write it or anything. And so I'm looking at it going, trying so hard, and I just see lines. I'm like, you got this, come on. And I had to look up and beat, and I'm like, I can't read.
Oh, man. Well, was everyone at least, were your teachers at least helpful, or, were...
I think she felt really bad.
Okay.
And then she, switched the subject real quick.
Oh.
And then it was funny because then I got made fun of.
Oh, man.
And then after I got made fun of, it was funny because I was in ESL, English as a Second Language, class. And as I'm in there, the only people, the same exact people who were making fun of me were in that class with me. And so I found that kind of ironic, and I didn't have the vocabulary to defend myself, and I didn't have the words to fight back.
Wait, so what do you mean? You were in this class?
I was in this class, and the same people who struggle reading and writing were the ones making fun of me. And so I think they picked me as their target due to the fact that it was covering their own insecurities.
Yeah, there's definitely something psychological about that.
It's like, okay, I get that, but that's messed up.
Yeah.
So, the first year, hated English, didn't want to try, didn't want to learn. And the second year came around, I was like, oh my God, you know what? This sucks. Am I allowed to say that on here?
Dude.
Sorry.
You can't say it on here. I don't know if you're
okay,
there,
no.
You definitely can say whatever you want.
I just want to make sure.
Cool.
So, so I was like, this sucks. And the next year, I buckled down. And I was like, all right, I'm actually going to try. So I started studying and taking it really seriously because I wanted to test out. And I didn't want to be in that course anymore. Sure enough, within that year, I tested out and I got made fun of again one day.
What?
And it was the first time that I realized, I was like, wow, I'm comprehending. I have the words now, because I'm going to bat. I want to have this class. I want to be normal.
Yeah.
And I remember that first day, it was in the same class that I got called out for, not being able to read and all this stuff. And I just remember looking at these kids and I said, what's funny? Because I questioned myself. I did. I questioned myself and I thought I was dumb. And I thought I just was not smart. And I was like, wow, I felt like that big. And that day, I changed my life because I sat there and I was like, I speak German, Japanese, and I read and write it. And now I'm speaking English. And I just tested out. And these were my exact words to these people. I said, and I just tested out of ESL. You had one job to learn English. That is the only language you know. And you're in ESL. So who's really dumb? Me or you?
It seems like...
And, after that moment, I was just kind of I sat there, and then they never picked on me again. They never came at me. And then I sat there, and I ended up helping these people. I started kind of going, okay, I don't like you, but yeah, I'll help you. Because I don't want to snoop to your level, but...
Yeah, this is so cool because it seems in that moment that you realize, these people are going to be kind of angry at me no matter what I do. And it seems that's also a reflection of, the industry you're in right now. I'm sure there's a lot of opinions.
Ooh, you're good. That was smooth.
My bad.
Smooth transition.
Yeah.
That was good.
But I'm assuming, that in the industry and with the acting and everything, everyone's always going to have an opinion on this and that. And
100%.
You got that attitude of just hey, just do it.
I think that's so funny you brought that up because I think at a young age, I did have to take a lot of hits. And I can take a hit. I can take a big hit. And I'm, when it comes to family, friends, or whatever, you could ask my sisters, whatever, they will tell you I'm the first to show up and I'll block for them, And I think that actually has helped me drastically in my career today because you do run into people who aren't always the best. And if you don't have a thick skin in the industry I'm in, you're not going to make it. And I think a lot of people nowadays don't really have that thick skin because
for whatever reason,
they don't have that. And everybody's different. And I just think my industry is rough, but I think maybe my life went the way it did because, I need to learn those lessons and
absolutely.
be able to be like, ugh.
No, it
okay, I'm good, I'm come back.
Yeah, it definitely seems that you took these hits at an early age just so you can get in that industry.
And I think it's definitely helped me. And I think for me, there was a time, there's been a few in the industry I have been sexually harassed, and I sat there and I actually quit. You guys, I quit.
Nice.
I was over it, okay? Because this guy came in, whatever. And I remember I was just so devastated and I was just crying. I think I was like 21 when this happened, 21, 22. And it was just a reoccurring thing and it happened more than once. And I just got to the point where I remember calling my mom and I was in LA and I'm like, I'm just over this. I don't understand. Why are people like this? And she's just like, okay, come home. I'm like, and I left. And I was so mad. And I was like, you know what? Screw this industry. I'm over it. I'm not going to sit here and continue to get sexually harassed and whatnot. But a month went by and I'm sitting there like, what am I going to do? Another month went by and I'm like, dude, I'm good at what I do. Another month goes by and I'm like, why am I letting these people win? One day I'm going to, I want to see these people again, And so I shook it off and then jumped back in. I was like, you sure? And I'm like, yeah. So I jumped back in and shook it off. And I've actually had personal apologies from people. I've had people fired. And this is just, defending myself and where it's like, if you don't, I'm not happy about it. It's more the sense of, no, you need to learn this is not okay. And if I don't stand up for my rights, you know what I mean? And what I believe in, then where do you draw the line? And how's that, I feel by doing so, you're protecting others in the process. So, for me, I had somebody and they offered me an ultimatum. And they said, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to sleep your way to the top? Or are you going to stick to your morals? And this is why on my feed and through everything I do, I can't stress it enough. Morals are everything. What you stand for is everything. What your belief system is everything. Without those, then for me, it's like, who are you? You're going to be lost and you don't have that guideline to be like, no, this is what I'm going to draw the line right here. Whether, and stick to right and wrong, because we know what right and wrong is. And when I got that ultimatum, and I got picked up for a pretty big role, and I worked my butt off for it, okay? And I sat there and I said, I'm going to stick to my morals. I'm not sleeping my way to the top. I'm not doing this. I'm not down.
You're talented.
So in front of God and everybody, this man told me, all right, you're done. She's out. Lost the gig.
Oh,
and in front of everybody, it was probably the most embarrassing moment in my life. But at the same time, I looked at everybody with grace and I was like, well, you know what? Thank you so much for your time. And I walked away and I was upset. But for me, this person tried again and I looked over and I said, there's always going to be somebody newer, younger, and better than you who's going to come around. My mom always taught me, no matter how high on the pedestal you get, you can always get knocked down. So I told this person, I was just like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it will be. If it's not, then it's not. And I don't mind waiting for the next person to show up. But I feel like I'm doing pretty well. So
Dude,
I'm
cool.
staying positive I can't wait for the day I run into some of these people because I don't forget a face. I don't.
Oh, man.
And I can't wait to sit there and have these people beg me to work with them and be able to stand there and say, nah.
Dude, well,
I'm good. Those are life goals. Life goals.
First of all, I appreciate you sharing that story. It seemed very personal, so I do appreciate you sharing that. And I can't believe people like that just ask things like that of you.
It's rough.
It seems very detached. But I'm glad not only for your viewers, but for my listeners, I'm glad that you kind of share that you have a set of morals. 'Cause I feel sometimes you look at people who do acting or people who do, the kind of the work that you do. And it's like, they're in another planet, like I'll never meet a person like that. They probably have everything made out for them, and they're just these people that like don't care about us. But I talking to you right now, and you seem as human as anyone I've ever met, and you follow your morals, dude. That's really cool. I appreciate that.
I try. I do my best. I mean, there's sometimes I fail, but most of the time I stick to it.
That's really cool. Well, I appreciate again you sharing with that. I did want to ask you about you said going back to your acting. I don't talk to a lot of actors in my everyday life, so getting the opportunity to talk to one, or actresses, sorry, getting the opportunity to talk to one is really cool. So I would like to ask just about that. I mean, maybe tell me how it was in Japan, and then or how it was changing. Like, was the acting in Japan different than the acting in America? Or
so in Japan, things are very cute. Everything's cute. It's very... Hi, how are you? Very, it has like a more of a theatrical feel to it, I would say.
Okay.
And it's very it's theatrical, and it's very cute. And it's not realistic, if that makes sense. I feel like everybody's more, it's like, hi, da-na-na-na-na, I'm super cute.
Okay.
And then you have Hawaii. And Hawaii is different too, because I almost feel like theirs is a little more... It's like different. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a little more robotic sound. For me personally, I felt Hawaii was a little bit more robotic feeling, and because in the sense of they don't have much to go, to do. So it's a little bit more dry.
What do you mean, like sense? With their acting though?
Like their acting's more. It almost feels like you're reading.
Oh.
A little bit more. And then on top of that, it also has like a mix between Japan and like the LA vibe. You know what I mean? It has like a mixture. Where LA is more, oh my God, you believe it? You're like, well, damn, like that was deep.
Uh-huh.
And it has like more of that edge, I feel like.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I think theatrical and like acting, they're very different. I never got a role in theater.
In theater,
so they wouldn't even cast me for a tree.
Oh man, not even the tree. Well,
not even the tree.
When you came to America and you started doing acting, like, was there huge differences as far? Did you prefer one over the other? And may I ask which one?
I prefer like more of like LA acting, Hollywood's kind of vibe, because it's real.
It's
you know what
real.
I mean? You can pull from real places and just go there.
Okay. I think I'm starting to see now what you mean. Japan was more just like, hey, even if you're sad, you gotta just look cute.
If it's sad, it comes off a little corny.
Oh, okay.
It's more like, and then you have like Hawaii, and it's like kind of a mixture between the two, and then you have LA, and it's just like, oh my God, like man, I'm feeling that.
It. Yeah,
I felt that, and I think that's like the kind of acting like I love to do. I'm not one that's like I don't like the over acting.
That's cool.
And I like to experiment with and use like my personal experiences and bring that into my acting, because there's always moments you're like, oh, I know how that feels. Let me bring from that, and it's very therapeutic. I use it as therapy.
Well, that's cool. If I could ask more about acting, in my head, I have this scene of everyone on a set and somebody just saying, action, and then people bringing donuts and you getting mad because they didn't separate the green M&Ms from the red. So what is it like? Take me through a day,
Are you talking about you want to know more like behind the scenes?
Yeah, I want to know what that industry is like.
Behind the scenes is the best.
It's the
because
best?
Here's the thing. It's funny because I've really put a lot of thought into this. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate the crew as much as they should.
What do you mean,
These are the people. Here's the people. The people behind the camera are the ones who are making your favorite celebrities. Okay? And those are the people that are pushing you up and boosting you and advertising for you and vouching for you and just going so hard. And those are the people I think a lot of people need to sit there and just be like, round of applause, man. Dude. You are bomb at what you do. If they make you look good, you know what I mean? You got the cameraman, he's making you look good. He's also making you like, hey, let me adjust this. Let me do that. You know, and it's crazy. Then you have the light people. Like every single person. You got sound. You have, so somebody's holding a boom over you and they got to make sure they're not doing the shadows. You have people who are sticking to continuity. You know, and sometimes we mess up on these things. But for the most part, these people are the ones that are doing all the work. You know, like you sit there and yes, it's hard being in front of a camera. Yes, because sometimes there's so many people watching. And when you mess up your lines, you're like, I'm so sorry. I know you guys are working so hard. They were holding like massive equipments on their show. And you know, when you blow it,
oh man,
you feel,
yeah.
you feel some type of way. Yeah. So if you show up and you're not prepared with your lines, it's the roughest thing ever. And then on top of that, you have crafts and all that. And then during the downtime, everybody hangs out. And like, I love that interaction. But I appreciate those people so much. And I think, you know, you don't hear about that the most. But when you do see it and you do meet these people, I make sure every time I'm on a set, I know just about everybody who's working behind the camera's name. That is like one of my goals.
That's
just because
awesome, yeah.
I do appreciate them. And when they do, you know, you do create that relationship with these people, they bring you back on other projects too. But not only that, they'll look out for you. And that's what you want. You want them to look out for you.
So that's how it is, huh?
It's like a family.
You do movies with people and then you word of mouth and then you guys just make friends. Like that's awesome.
Pretty much. That's like the best way to go about it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you create these relationships and then it becomes like this family base because sometimes you're working with these people months and months at a time. Sometimes it's like a whole week and like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I knew it took a team to do that acting in a movie, but I didn't really think too much about it. And now I'm mad at myself because as someone who does like music, I know it's not just like a band, you know, the rock stars. They're not the only ones who are working on an album. You have like all these engineers and sound producers behind the scenes.
You got set design. Yeah. The set design people are so cool. Okay, they come up with the weirdest, like cool stuff. I had one scene where, didn't mean to cut you off, but I had one scene where they had me like cut my wrist. Uh-huh. I was like, how are we going to do this? And they gave me this, like they make the certain like plates and stuff. So when you like break them and whatnot, and it's so real. And there's sometimes like there's this glass wall. It was all made out of sugar. So when you busted the window open and it shattered everywhere in slow-mo, it's all this sugar, but it looks so dope.
Oh my gosh.
It was so good.
You know,
and then they throw, like, they rig things so it makes, like, if you're, like, your blood's coming out or whatever, if you're hanging up, it's amazing. It's amazing. Makeup, everything. Like, it's your imagination, everything's, like, endless. Like, you know, you never know what people can come up with, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I can't even fathom
They're the ones. Those are the people who I give my kudos to, and they are the ones at the end of the day making it happen. Yes, actors and actresses are in the spotlight, and they're kind of taking the hits for like the mess ups and whatnot. But at the end of the day, those are the people that are allowing you to practice your craft, and those are the people that are building you up and making you who you are. You know what I mean? And allowing you from there, they're allowing you to just thrive.
That's cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it is
really
cool.
put into a perspective for me.
And then it's your individual personality. Then that takes over, and it's like, okay, if you're not that good of a person, you're gonna fall. But I think that comes into play too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After that comes into play, then you're just like, okay, now you're on your own. You got to talk to people.
Yeah, I could imagine. I would love to hear some more, at least another cool set story. I mean, again, this is a world I have not ever been close to. So, I mean, any other cool, interesting set stories you can maybe share?
Sometimes you got to watch out for those food carts.
For the food carts? Wait, what do you mean?
Some sets have like food, like just all over the place, all these snacks you can snack on. So if you're not in the scene and you're bored out of your mind sometimes because you just like, you know, you're tired of practicing, when you start eating, you'll like eat way too much. Kind of like right now in quarantine. If you're not keeping yourself busy, you're going to start feeding yourself more times than you should.
So you're saying there's just food carts on set and you can just eat as much as you want?
100%. And then they bring in your meals and stuff, and those are pretty cool.
This is just, it gets better and better, man.
But sometimes they're brutal days. Like, there's sometimes, like, I've done projects where like I'm like working all the way till like 8 a.m. and nonstop all day, and then you finally get that break to kind of like sleep, and then you get back up and you're like, oh my God, I gotta do this all over again. I'm so tired. And there's other times where you're freezing to the point where like now you gotta take your jacket off and you're like, and you gotta hold yourself together. I think that when it comes to those kind of times, that's when it's like the actors and actresses' roughest times is like when you're working with the climate, like nature.
I forget sometimes.
That's rough.
That's a factor. Well, that's
yeah,
awesome.
that's rough. That's rough. But sets are fun. I love acting more than anything, and I think the modeling just comes hand in hand with it, and that's why I do it. And it's just something I always kind of get picked up for. So overall, acting is that is my everything.
So is modeling, now I guess I should ask about the modeling, is modeling in kind of the same ballpark as acting? Or, I mean, I don't want to sound naive.
Totally different.
But, okay, then cool. Then what, is that like a little harder? Or is that, what's the vibe of that?
Well, a lot of people, like, you know, they kind of crack jokes and they're like, ooh, you stand in front of a camera, a new model, like, so hard. Yo. It's hard.
It's hard.
It can be hard. Because sometimes, like, you're wearing things and, like, you got these lights on you and then you're sweating and then somebody's constantly picking at you, poking you, and you're just like, okay, just stop touching me. I'm going to smack you. I feel like my patience when modeling, sometimes, like, I have to breathe. I've never snapped on anybody, but, like, there have been times where I could just feel like I'm getting frustrated because I'm getting tired of them, like, poking me and, like, pulling my hair one way. And sometimes you'll have, like, 5 people working on you. And that's kind of rough. And sometimes you're in a bikini and you're standing there. Okay, I kid you not. You will have somebody come over and grab the bikini because maybe one part like slips up and they have to adjust your bikini bottom. You know, and sometimes they like spray a little something and then they go, and then you're like, don't move, don't breathe, lift your head up, suck in, like turn, if your body is not hurting at the end of it, you're not doing your job right.
Dude, I can't even imagine.
That's my opinion.
Someone just telling you, just kind of moving you like a
and sometimes you work with photographers. Like sometimes they're really great, right? And they're like, oh, give it to me, and then you're trying to laugh, or they're like, yeah, because they get all excited. And then there's other times you work with people. And they get so frustrated if you're not giving them what they want. And then it becomes like this, oh my God, what are you doing? That makes you look fat. Suck it in. And you're just like, damn, like this is rough. Like you're brutal, buddy.
Oh, hey, without any details, is there like can you tell us like a horror story behind one of these things? I mean, hey, I don't want you,
like I said, like,
you don't have to throw
me,
any shade at anybody, but like.
No, for me, I think photographers, like, I don't have a problem with somebody telling me to suck it in, lift up, and like whatnot, just because those things don't faze me anymore. Like I don't think they ever did, but I think that's due to having a really thick skin. But I did bring a girlfriend, to a shoot one time, and she got picked up for this gig, and this photographer just destroyed her, and I felt so bad because she started crying. We had to take like cut, and then they had to redo her makeup, and you know she's still learning, and posing and stuff it can be challenging, especially if you don't know your angles, where, you know, and if you're like getting too stiff, like you can tell the difference between somebody who's comfortable in front of the camera and somebody who's not. And I think so I had to sit there and like have her shake it off. I was like, dude, you're doing good, but like listen, just you the key is to listen. No matter what they're saying, just listen to their direction and you'll be fine. And you can't take it to heart, and you can't be, you know what I mean? You got to be able to shake it off and be like, got it. As frustrating as it can be. I fell out of a tree. I actually did a shoot in what's that place? It's like the mountain. It's like high elevation.
You fell off a tree in a mountain?
No, yeah, it was like up in a mountain, Joshua Tree.
Oh, okay.
I think it was like by Joshua Tree or something.
Yeah.
But we went to this like high up elevation, and I'm really bad with elevation. And as we were like going at it, I think we started 12 a.m. for the shoot, and it went on, right? Because we had all this stuff to shoot. And they also wanted certain shots with the sun coming up, sun going down, and we were all dehydrated and shaky or whatever. So the wardrobe stylist passes out, and then they're like working with them, and I'm like, I'm good. I got one more shot. Let's just get it out. And I went, and they wanted me up in this tree. So I'm in this tree, and this tree is so cool. It has branches like going all over the place.
Oh,
so I'm in the
trees
tree.
And branches, dude?
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
It was a huge, like, pretty dope tree.
Oh, man, Josh's tree.
So,
I don't doubt it.
So I'm in the tree, and all of a sudden it hit me, and I just, like, I passed out. I was like, whew, and I, like, fell out of the tree, and then the photographer passed out. We both just, like, last shot. The last shot, he took it. And we both, our bodies just gave out because the elevation was so gnarly that we both just went, poof. And
what the heck?
And one of the other guys was like, oh, catch me. And then the other one, like, went to catch the photographer. We had to, like, take a breather for a sec and get a bunch of, like, hydrated and drink a bunch of water. And then after that, we, like, once we came to, they're like, you got one more shot in you? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then let's get out of here.
Yo, yeah, because you're working with, like, time limits and, like, deadlines.
Oh, it's rough.
And everything.
When you're like working against, like I said, nature. It's different when you're in the studio and you're like playing with nature.
Yeah, you gotta like
you gotta go.
Clock. Yeah,
and we were like running out of time, but we got the shots and they look amazing. But there is one shot that they used, and it was the one right before I passed out. And I look at that photo, and it makes my stomach cringe because I'm just like, ugh. I remember that moment. Horrible.
Yeah, I can't even.
As cool of a shot as this, I don't want to post it because I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it right now.
I can't even imagine any of that. Well, that's wild. That's an eye-opener.
Yeah.
And everyone just started fainting on
Yeah,
on
everybody
set.
just started passing out because, you know, if you don't stay hydrated and you're not used to that elevation, your head hurts, like your body starts shaking. It almost feels like you haven't eaten and you're really like lethargic.
Wow. Well, thanks again for sharing with that. It seems you are comfortable with what you do with acting and the modeling. Let me ask, let's say if you weren't into that, what would you see yourself doing? Do you ever want to be like a teacher or something? Or like, was there ever like a second thing? Because I mean, you can speak well. I feel like you could be able to maybe like a therapist. I don't know.
A therapist?
I don't know. But I mean, you seem to be able to talk to people. And
I think when it comes to like, I definitely think I could be really good at being a therapist because I'm really good at asking people, why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
You know, and like have them like kind of figure it out for themselves. But that's not my favorite thing to do. It's not really like I'll sit there and I'll listen and I'll like tell you my opinion. The only thing is I'm brutally honest. So I like to tell people if you don't want to know the question, do not ask me. Because I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't know how to sit there and be like, oh, poor thing. It's like,
yeah. I mean,
so I struggle with that. But I used to want to be a hairstylist when I was younger. And then I was over that. And then I wanted to be a designer. So that's still kind of something I love. I mean, I have my bikini line.
Yeah, it seems like it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, like I just love bikinis. And I spend so much money on it. That's why I started it. But definitely designing. I like to design. That would be an option. Or I wouldn't mind being an architect.
An architect? What?
Yeah, that's like one of my I actually thought about that. I was like, I could totally be an architect.
What is that? I mean, do you draw or do you
I do, but I love to build.
To build.
I love building. And when it comes to sewing or anything, I'm like really good at figuring out without instructions and stuff how to put things together. I can look at something and kind of go and like I can do that better.
Oh man.
You know, I think that's how my brain just works.
That's cool.
And I'm very hands-on. So for me, I that is something I have thought about. I was like, I would love to be an architect. I think that'd be so fun.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, Kristen, I think we got, again, I appreciate you just hanging out with us here. For my listeners, where can we find you? If they want to see what you're up to, your acting stuff and your modeling stuff, where can we follow you or find you on social media?
On social media, my handle is Kris10, K-E-S-P, so that's K-R-I-S 10, the number, and then K-E-S-P. Check it out.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys. And that was Kristen Stephenson-Pino. And this is The Social Distance. Thank you guys for listening. Alrighty, that was a fun time, right? Again, I can't thank you guys enough for listening. If you made it this far, that's probably because you chose to be here, and honestly, that's something very special to me. Doing these interviews, doing this podcast, doing all this learning, doing all this sharing, it's all part of a collective of things that I'm actually passionate about. And you being here as I take these baby steps towards a more refined, a more bona fide version of myself, it means a lot. Production is definitely something that I want to excel in, so please, any feedback from you guys would be much appreciated. And if you have any ideas on topics or questions you'd like to see in the future episodes, please leave a comment, let me know. And if you got time, please check out some of the work brought to you by the other fine members of the Griffin radio station. We are here for you, keeping you involved, keeping you up to date, keeping you entertained. That actually keeps us happy and sane. Trust me. Alrighty, once again, I'm Israel. This is the Social Distance. Okay, I'm done. Time to do my daily routine of 1,000 push-ups. Alrighty, later guys.